Last time we went over the game's visuals and mechanics, so this time I want to focus more on the game's UI and level design, to see how both of them evolved throughout the development of Raccoon Afternoon, and how they function today. For this episode I asked my team's UI artist, level designer and our code lead for their comments on the subset to go more in depth about them. The main menu was sort of difficult task for me, because we had a lot of different buttons and fitting them all into the menu was a bit tricky. The settings menu was easier than usual, because mobile games don't need as many settings as PC games. Instead of using animators or animations, I used tweening option instead. I made all the UI animations with code, because it would be more modular and faster to change them. For example, if an animation needed a different type of easing, instead of manually changing it in the animation, I would just change it in the code. Our first idea for a minimap was to have it on constantly, but it led to a lot of performance issues and we didn't have time to make a 2D art for the minimap. So we stuck to the current version, in which the camera moves to the sky and shows all the scores. The original idea for the stats was for them to show in front of the houses, but it didn't work as intended, because when we built it on mobile they didn't work, so we stuck to the canvas one instead of an in-world one. Originally the stars were a percentage, which showed how much you've destroyed the house. This didn't work, because the player would have to get 100% in the house. We tried so that you can still win if you get to 95%, but it didn't feel like it made much sense. We changed it to stars because they were better and more satisfactory for the player, instead of some arbitrary number. Every level is unique with its theme, size and aesthetic. Overall, there are 6 levels in the game which are the following: family house, laboratory, pub, store, museum and school. There's also the tutorial level and the hub world, also known as Pumpkin Well, which is where the player can wander around and enter the game's main levels. During the development, the biggest changes I had to make were to the tutorial, school, hub and the last level to be added to the game, which was the museum. Tutorial was the one that got the most changes. It had to be designed to be simple but effective. It had to be scaled smaller so that the player would not wander around and stay there for too long without making progress. Originally, the family house looked very empty and boring. Together, we came up with an idea of how we could get more life and playability to the level. The idea was that the house would not be an ordinary family house, but a family that has just moved into the house, where there would be a lot of boxes and junk from the moving process all around the level. At the beginning, the school also looked very ordinary. With the help of the team, we were able to make the level more interesting. There's the pumpkin festival event going on in the game, so I decorated the classroom to fit the festival theme. We also added a principal's office room, which I also had to design and look for references. The hub world had to be scaled back and forth. At the beginning it was too big, but later on we noticed that it was still too big. It also looked very empty and dead. So once again it was decided that it would be fit to the pumpkin festival theme by adding fields that would have vegetables growing in them. The harvest festival area was designed and decorated by me too. The most difficult task with the level design in the game was to balance the playability and interest all the while having fun. A problem that kept occurring was that I kept decorating the levels too realistically, like a real house. This made the levels less fun and had the player walk long distances without much destruction, which I later fixed. With the game mechanics in mind, I have to place props in the level so that it would be the most fun to interact with as the player. Jumping between objects or destroying multiple objects at once, for example. I think take much inspiration from other games. Animal Crossing was the only one where I looked for decoration and prop placement references and ideas from. For environments, most references I needed to find were for different areas, like the laboratory. I used real laboratory pictures as a reference for the level, and what props should be there to destroy. Every level was in their own way neat, educational and challenging for my abilities. I had free hands to design and lay out the levels, and the best executed level was the pub, with its atmosphere, props, also the hub area, which works as a link to all the main levels of the game. Overall, the game's current level design and UI matches perfectly for the aesthetic and atmosphere with the fun and cartoony visuals that we were aiming for. That's all for now with the devlog. At the time of recording this, Raccoon Afternoon is already out on Google Play Store. There will be a download link in the description and the comments if you want to check the game out. It's free to play, so you will not lose anything if you wanna try it. Editor from the future here. So the game is also available on PC on x.io or itch.io, however you pronounce it. So if you want a PC experience, you can also do that with the links in the description. Try the game, leave feedback and let us know what you thought about the game. It would mean a lot to us. But until next time, thank you for watching and see ya!